Hello and welcome to this Jamesthebikeguy, where today you're getting to share with me a new bike day. Now, every time you have one of these, it's just as good as the last, or maybe even a bit better. And today, inside of my truck, is going to be a replacement for one of the bikes that I've had in my fleet for a couple of years. Now, that bike is going to go to a new home, but it is giving me a fork and a saddle for the new rig. Now, this new bike itself, it's pretty cool. It's not quite the same, but it should be light and fun, and it's nearly stock with only the fork, saddle, handlebar, and wheels.
But what I'd really like to do is something extraordinary. Something big, something mega, something copious, something capacious, something kajunga.
Yes, sirree, we have a new Trek bike, but not any Trek, only any Trek bike, I should say. This is the Procaliber 9.6. The Procaliber is one of their hardtails that has a really cool thing where it's got ISO speed, allowing the back end to flex. So it's kind of like a hardtail and kind of like a full suspension or a soft tail in the back. So it should allow me some nice lightweight fun. So pulling the bike out of the box, man, this is always one of the most fun times in cycling. I almost prefer, maybe I do prefer, to build new bikes than even enjoy them. But the 18-month wait for this bike, actually, I just looked that up. It's only been 12 months. Still a heck of a long time, but you know how it gets when you're waiting. It's pretty incredible, especially since it came through two different colors waiting for it to arrive. But the color that did arrive is kind of fun, and it's got some of these nice oil slick, I think they call it, colors. Inside of here, oh, that's the cockpit. Let's see how we get this out. Yes, look at that oil slick color. Gosh, it's gorgeous. You do get a little parts box with this, and inside is an owner's manual. It comes with some TLR sealant, which is kind of cool. Some reflectors, we're not going to toss those on my bike. And then, of course, the remote lockout for the shock. Granted, we're not using that on this bike, and I'll show you why later. And of course, the moment we've all been waiting for, or at least I have, the bike comes out, and we find out that saddle clamp is tightened. And look at this bike behind us. Isn't it gorgeous? So here, the part spec that comes on the 9.6 is pretty neat, and what actually attracted me to this. So of the carbon hardtails in Trek's lineup and a lot of different brands, this seemed to be like the best bang for buck part if it was going to be a bike I was going to upgrade. So up front, it comes with this RockShox Recon. Now, the Recon fork is definitely not my favorite, not an ideal fork in my opinion, but the cool thing with this Procaliber frame is it's designed to run up to 120 up front. I live in New England with chunky trails, and so here in Massachusetts, the 100 fork that comes with it is not so great, but Project Trifox that I'm replacing with this bike, I've got my Marzocchi Bomber Z2 from that in 120 mils of travel, perfect to go onto the front. It's just going to swap right in. And then you've got this beautiful carbon OCLV frame, definitely some gorgeous looking frame. It's their Mountain OCLV, triplicate mounts on down tube and then two mounts on the seat tube. But the real magic, and nice to see that they greased it, I'll have to clean up that smudge right there, but this is the ISO speed. So basically it decouples the seat tube from the top tube and seat stay junction so this back end can flex. Basically, later on, I don't have one yet, but I'm going to get a dropper post for it and be able to route that internal, of course. But with the way this is set up, I can have a dropper post, a efficient hardtail, but a little give in back. And anyways, the drivetrain is SLX cassette. It got an XT rear derailleur, and I think shifter is probably, yeah, SLX shifter. So good enough. And a spec change that I wasn't expecting. This was supposed to come with a non-series Shimano crankset, and I'm really happy to see this Cadent on there because typically I've had really great luck with PraxisWorks cranks. Sadly, I learned a little later on this Cadent crank, which is a nice thing, it's 175 millimeter crank arm length. Who does that in 2022? Now, the last thing to mention is, of course, the bike has these beautiful oil slick hubs, but this is the rapid drive hub. So you guys know how much I love that. And the rapid drive hub essentially allows you to have a 108 tooth of engagement hub for reasonably short money. And I'm actually not going to use those wheels on this bike because I've got a set of carbon Covey Pro 30s from another bike of mine that are going to go ahead and go on here. But the cool thing is this winter, if you guys stick around, these hubs are way too gorgeous not to do something with, so they're going to be built up into something else, and more on that later. Well, this here fork is not going to be sticking around, so off it's going to come, but I am going to reuse the rest of the hardware that comes with the bike here. Whew. Out she comes. So I think we should put the fork that I'm taking off on the scale to see what it weighs in at, which is 1,964 grams. And so by going to a much burlier fork with 120, yeah, so, which I'll tell you what is probably worth it to pull this Recon off and get a much more substantial Marzocchi Bomber Z2. But these logos are gonna have to go. Of course, take this opportunity, make sure that the bike is nice and lubed up. Up goes our new fork. Well, I was gonna run this One-Up Components carbon handlebar, but alas no, because the stock bar that comes with it is a 31.8, and this is a 35, so oh well. Handlebar on here, relatively dry just because it's gonna come off here in a short while after I get one to be able to run the 35 mil bar. Just out of curiosity, I'm wondering if these 2.4s would fit in the bike. And would you look at that, these guys do fit the 2.4s on here, so maybe I just run it with these wheels in the meantime. So we saw that the 2.4s fit, that's pretty cool, but I'm not entirely sure what wheels and tires I'm gonna run with. Initially, I was thinking I'd take my Covey Pro 30 carbon wheels that are here, swap over just about all the parts here. However, it occurred to me, when I get rid of Project Trifox, well, the wheels and tires from that, which are some Industry 9 and already set up tubeless, would come with it. So I think for at least the meantime, it's time to swap these guys into the bike and just get it rolling because it's getting dark out. This all snugged up in a way that it's not going to allow the brake to rub. So let's take a listen. And now to run it through the gears, see what happens. Well, with all that, it's built up and it's time to give it a maiden voyage in my backyard. Woo! Let's go! Ready, set, woo! And that about does it for us on this video about my new Procaliber. I am curious to hear what you guys think about this bike. This thing is pretty cool. I'm psyched to have it built up. I know it kind of got dark. I'm not going to be able to get to the trail today, but we got the 120 Marzocchi up front. We've got my i9 1-to-1 Trail S wheels mounted up. I don't know if those will stay. Let me know. Should I leave those or should I go to my XC carbon wheels and maybe even a smoother tread pattern than this? The XR2s that come with the bike, I think could work well, but I might want some more tread. I don't know. And then down here, We've got the XT drivetrain, this Praxis Works Cadet crank. I think all of that'll stay, but we'll see later on. And then this whole cockpit, it's gonna have to change. You know, this bar felt super narrow just playing in the backyard. 31.8 bar clamp, no bueno, need to go 35. And then out back, Arvada saddles, they don't work with my rear end. And that aluminum seat post, I think, begins to be a dropper seat post sometime in the future. Well, anyways, thanks so much for watching this video with me while we build up this Trek Procaliber 9.6. Go ahead and let me know what you think about it down in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts regarding the mods and the upgrades that may be done and have been done. And then in a future video, me and the pup back there are gonna take this puppy out for a ride. Thanks.